Greetings, dear ones, and welcome. I'm Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer, Administrator for the affiliated New Thought Network, and I would like to welcome you to our July Speaker Series conversation. Our presenters today are, in my mind, the absolute reason why ANTN exists, and the amazing value that ANTN brings to the world is the wisdom and the light and the joy of many people, including these extraordinary 5 past presidents. I am so excited that we have this gathering of love and of wisdom. So with that, I would like to introduce our beloved Reverend Dr. Carol Lawson from the Center for Conscious Living in Morristown, New Jersey. She is the ANTN Board Vice President, as well as our Speaker Series Coordinator, as well as a past ANTN President.
Oh, good morning, everybody. I'm thrilled that you're here, and I want to just, let's first call on Abigail, Reverend Abigail Albert, just to do a little opening prayer as we set ourselves in this field together.
So let's just close our eyes for a moment and let go of whatever's happened before this very moment. As we center ourselves, we take deep breaths. We release, we let go, drop our shoulders. Be completely knowing that we are in the presence as God. There is only one power, one life, one mind, one holiness. God, Spirit, Divine Mind, Cause, Creator, Source, by which whatever name you wish to call it is here. Always has been, always will be, forever and ever eternal. And we have been, and we are the creation of this one. Everybody on this call is in one mind, one consciousness, one life. We may show up as individuals, but in reality, we are one. One spirit, one joy, one happiness, one love. And that is always true, no matter of the outer circumstances, the inner is always the same. Spirit, love, joy, beingness, wholeness. So I am just reveling in this truth, knowing that I am and we are God in person right here, as people, as animals, as all beings, as Jean says, everything. And so I just know that for this wonderful speaker series, that it goes forth in divine order and timing, and all of our wonderful past presidents and are here to share some wonderful things. And we know that being a part of ANTN really supports all these creative and unique ministries that we have and continue to have always. And so we are grateful knowing the blessings that ANTN has been giving us over the years, and have been so grateful to be in service to ANTN over the years. And we thank all the board that is here now, continuing this beautiful work that began many years ago. And so with that, I am in deep gratitude and so very, very thankful and grateful for everyone showing up today. And I just say thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. So it is, amen.
So it is, amen. Thank you, Abigail. And let me just introduce to everybody, if you can at least wave as I introduce you, the past presidents today, Dr. Frank zumMallen, the co-spiritual leader of Awakening Ways Spiritual Community in Atascadero, California. Wave again, Frank. I know I saw you, but let's be sure. And then Reverend Jean Sweet, former spiritual director of the Helena, Montana, recently, Church of Conscious Living. And now she says, a farmer, speaker, healer, and activist, although she's listed for next Sunday talking to Reverend Jean Sweet. And then Reverend Dr. Lisa Laurie Stewart, Senior Minister at Spiritual Living of Greater Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Reverend Dr. Abigail Albert, the co-minister of All Faith Center in Poway, California, and the Reverend Dr. Carol Lawson, who's the founding minister and spiritual director at the Center for Conscious Living in Morristown, New Jersey. So I don't know how all 5 ministers are going to be able to talk in an hour, but miracles happen. Every single one of us on this call believe this, so we will proceed. I realized last night that it's kind of a beautiful example of the inclusivity and the ANTN. I'm in the East Coast. Lisa is an hour behind. Jean is an hour behind that. And Abigail, Jerry, and Frank are in California. So we've got at least the country covered. And I think our hearts are open to the world. So I'm glad you're here. And I'm going to have each of them. And let's start with Dr. Frank. Just tell a little bit, where are you now? What you're doing? How's your ministry? What's happening with you now?
Well, it's been an interesting time for us being on Zoom and on YouTube. We haven't grown particularly during this period of time, but we also haven't shrunk at all. And the last month, almost 6 weeks now, Terry and I have been off. We have not been working. We're moving.
Wow.
And we've been working our tails off, getting ready to move out of a house we've lived in for 30 years, which is interesting to say the least, getting rid of almost everything and minimizing to move to a smaller place. We have 3.5 acres here on a hilltop, and it's just become too much to take care of, covered with trees. So we have termite problems and all of that. So we're selling this home and we're moving to a smaller place. And so that's occupied a great deal of our time during this last month or so. But one of the advantages that we found of doing Zoom, because of where we're located on the central coast of California, a rather isolated area, not in terms of transportation, because 101 runs right through the main, is basically the main street of town. But because we're 250 miles from LA, 250 miles from San Francisco, we're hundreds of miles from any place. And so we've been able to bring in these wonderful speakers. We brought Rick Moss back from Florida. He came in on Zoom, and Jeanette Freeman, and a number of other people. And so this has been kind of a really interesting time for us in terms of being able to be more flexible in how we're doing our Sunday gatherings. And it's been interesting. We're in constant contact with the landlords, which is the city of Atascadero. Our building that we meet in is considered a venue. And as a venue, we don't get to open up when the rest of the churches do. We have to wait to open up when everything is over, because that's when the venues open up here in California. So we're going to be doing this for a while. I'm not sure how long, but it will be a while yet that we'll be doing this. And so that's where we are right now.
Perfect. And I just want to mention that you're co-minister with your lovely wife, Terry.
Terry. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And quite bright, and I notice your bio talks about transpersonal psychology and Eastern and Western mysticism and a whole bunch of stuff. So we always go to Frank for some of those esoteric things. So thank you, Frank, very much. So, so how about Reverend Jean? Where are you now? What's happening with you?
Well, first I want to say to Frank, okay, Frank, that explains a lot. I thought you went all Zen. But
we're prepping the house for show.
Right.
Wow,
Where the
yeah. So I stepped away, and that's my words, from congregational ministry or pulpit ministry. You know, we never stop being ministers. It's not this thing where you walk away and that's it. So I stepped away from that on December 23rd. That was my last formal hoopla service. And then, so this part's really interesting. And then there was a pandemic. So, you know, how is retirement? Well, that's an interesting question, because almost immediately there was this, extreme sheltering. My husband just turned 89. He's incredible. And so in order, we were sheltering before sheltering was even cool. That is true. And so, all of those expectations or ideas or dreams, or I don't even know what to say about retirement, became a different experience. And I really can see, and I know, and we all know, that there are gifts and lessons and blessings in everything. And I am very grateful. I mean, one of the gifts, in my opinion, for this experience that we are having is that we know that the earth, everything comes from Mother, that our earth is starting to breathe again and starting to recover. And we see evidence of that. And that, God, that gets me, and that makes me very happy. And one of my prayers, and when I'm privileged to speak to my community, and I often do, I keep reminding us that we cannot go backwards. We cannot go back to the things that contributed to causing harm. And so I feel really, really strongly about that. That's what Carol says, my activism part, whatever. But, God, I think for all of us in taking this inhale and this pause, we've realized how privileged we are. I mean, I live in a community in which there are no people of color, and our Native American brothers and sisters are in Indian territory. That is the politically correct term for reservations. But so Indian territory is nowhere in Montana that we can see it. So we are really cut off from any kind of experience of other. And so I kind of feel like I'm in the position of always bringing others to the table. And that's really an important part of this. But I feel like I just keep saying we cannot go back to the old ways. We've learned we don't have to drive around that much, right? It's not necessary. We don't need, well, I've learned a lot of things about my life that are just so unnecessary. And that makes me so happy. And I just keep asking people, please don't go back to those ways, that we have an opportunity in the pause to co-create a world we believe in. And that's really what I'm about. That's, my ministry, my mission, my purpose right now. And that's my passion. And my gardens are beautiful. This is the first year that I've had an opportunity to completely pay attention to them. I don't have to teach classes, and I don't have to, do this. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. In fact, growing, when Mr. Sweet and I stepped out into the world, we could work in our garden safely. And so, and in our big community gardens, everyone is social distancing anyway because of the size of the plots. So first we stepped out into the world and began, working our gardens, and we have 2 big gardens. And then we've been the joy of growing things. I have not had the opportunity to pay this much attention to my gardens, and they are beautiful. And it just gets me every time I see my corn. I'm serious, because when I'm not looking, my corn grows another foot, and then I show up and go, oh, corn, and I shake it, anyway, that's kind of what's going on with me.
Beautiful. Jean, thank you. For anybody that might not know Jean, she also founded the Flames of Faith Spiritual Center in Big Bear, California. I remember her swimming across a lake. I don't know whether it was that one or Arrowhead one day for peace and awareness. And she was given an honorary ordination as farmer minister from ANTN in 2009, because she's done all kinds of things, teaching kids in schools about growing things and then giving this food to the homeless and lots of stuff. So thank you very much, Reverend Jean.
And Carol, here in Montana, here in my community, I was hooked up with a science teacher, and we started growing food together and teaching kids how to grow food. And her children are in an alternative high school. And for 8 years, we didn't get to do it this year. And I missed my minions so much because I need minions, but I had no minions. And, but I've been working with a science teacher here teaching children from 16 to 18 how to grow food. And this is the only year that we haven't done it together. And it always, every year, no matter who they are and how cool they think they are, I seduce them with food.
Well, and that's Jean for you. Thank you very much. How about let's go to Dr. Lisa. How are
Oh,
things with you these days?
well, thank you, Carol. Jean, it's so great to hear what you're up to. Thank you. Let's see. During COVID, the experience, I've been busier than ever. I would like to say that I wasn't, but I've had a steep learning curve. We went from live services, as many of you have, immediately to Zoom services and Facebook as well. And I also added a morning call at 7:15 to 7:45 for morning spiritual practice for whomever wanted to join us from our community. And that's been an amazing thing. Right now, one of our staff ministers is doing that call for August. I plan to take some time off in August. Many of you know we purchased a building a couple years ago, and we just decided to refurbish it and had just had a fundraising campaign when COVID hit. And so we decided to continue with that. So our asbestos abatement program just completed, and we're in the middle of gutting our physical plant, our church that we own, and we're redoing it with the vision intact that we grow and fill that church, remembering that the church is the people, not the physical plant. And so our focus, my focus personally, and our focus as a community is our inner practices and trusting that the outer follows our true beliefs. So really back to basics. And Milwaukee, we have an interracial community, not as completely representative of our population as I'd like, but we are working on that. Milwaukee has been a hotbed of protests, violence, particularly Black on Black violence, and we do a great deal of treatment around that in our community. Let's see, what would you like to know? I'm rediscovering, I'm unpacking. Frank, I admire that you're packing up and downsizing. That's amazing. And I'm just starting to unpack books that have been in boxes for years. We turned the pastor's office at church into a bookstore, and I rented an off-site office for my private hypnosis practice and the church office. So I'm unpacking books that have been boxed up for a long time, and I've rediscovered Eva Bell Werber, Werber, and many of you know her, and it's been a deep and potent practice for me personally, and I love her work. She's a poet, but actually they're like journal entries, so I've been enjoying that.
Great.
So my challenge is to keep up with technology and to not be pulled off center by all the commotion around, and there's plenty of it. So I'm sure I'm just like you in that. So focusing on what we know, putting one foot in front of the other, So unlike Frank reported early, we had quite a high attendance on our Zoom calls for about 3 months, but or 2 months, come mid-July, our attendance fell off quite a bit. Now, I don't know if people are attending on Facebook instead. I don't know that. So my question for myself is how to meet the needs of our members without burning myself out. So it's probably the same question I've had since the beginning of my ministry. It just takes on a little different shape.
Beautiful.
So that's what's up with me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lisa. And I'm glad you mentioned the hypnosis, and also in terms of just the insight into the creativity and the connecting with other things. Lisa's also served on the executive board of the International New Thought Alliance. So there's a lot of connectivity there. And Dr. Abigail, how are things with you these days? What are you doing?
We're doing really well. There are lulls and quiet times and not so much work, and then now we're meeting up with different activities. You can see the picture in the background. I'm really not outside. This is our labyrinth in the back, and I've got a picture of it, so I'd love to share that. The past 6-7 years, we've done labyrinth walks. We suspended it because we tried to do one a couple weeks ago and people canceled at the last minute. Even though it was outside, they were a little concerned. So we decided to postpone any walk unless they want to just come by themselves. They're always welcome to do that. What we are very much and have been for years very involved with is the interfaith movement. We are presently planning an Interfaith Awareness Week coming the second week of August, and this is our 4th annual one. It began when Steve and I were coordinators of the North American Interfaith Network Conference in 2017. It was a huge conference in San Diego. And since then, the second week of August has always been Interfaith Awareness Week. And the beauty of that is that first one in 2017, we had almost all the cities in the San Diego County declare that second week to be Interfaith Awareness Week. Went on the next year, Steve was able to get the state involved. The governor declared the state of California Interfaith Awareness Week. And right now we're working with Scott Peters, our congressman, to actually declare the second week of August Interfaith Awareness Week nationally. So that's where we've been heading interfaith-wise, and it's been extremely it's been a wonderful ride. It's been a journey. It's been fun. We have a lot of people, many different faith traditions, and we just love being with them. So that's been our focus. And of course, coming up in a couple weeks, we've got that Interfaith Awareness Week, and we have activities and events all virtual or Facebook or live streaming or whatever coming up. And people are still excited about that, even though we can't get together physically. They say, yes, we'll do a Zoom, we'll do a movie, we'll do a prayer vigil, we'll do this and that. In fact, one of our activities, we're going to safely space. We have a parachute with a bunch of balls, and we're going to have a drone come over as we, use the parachute and bounce the balls as one of our activities. So that should be kind of fun. But basically, it's been, that's what we do. I'm also at this point kind of leading towards a lot more racial and social justice. I'm going to be taking a webinar with Unity Minister Wendy Craig Purcell in a few weeks on, how to dismantle racism. And she's been doing that program for her congregation for a couple of years. And then she offered this class and course for other people. So I'm signing up for that. I've been actively involved I went to one peace rally for Black Lives Matter. I've been to a lot of rallies for mosques and synagogues who've been graffitied or harmed in some way. So I try to step up and step out when I hear about these things, because I think it's important to walk your walk, walk your talk. You know, if you want to support somebody, you need to be there to support them. So I've been doing that. And last but not least, Steve and I are going to be grandparents. Our daughter is pregnant. God bless her. She's age 40, first baby, due in October. We're thrilled, excited, and you know, she went through a lot of testing because of her age, but according to the doctor, baby is textbook perfect. So we're all excited. It's a little baby girl. So we're happy as grandparents. First grandparents can never be. So that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Thank you, Abigail. You've also, I see here, co-author with Steve of the Interfaith Workbook. You've done so much activity, interfaith. You've also been on the Agent Advisory Council, as both Frank and I have as well. And
It's funny, I talked to Barbara. I said, am I still on the advisory council? She says, my book, you still are. They just haven't had the advisory council meet. So I guess I'm still on.
So just again, the idea that some of the beauty of ANTN is in welcoming and empowering creative individuals to do it their way. And yes, Angelo.
And can I say just one last thing, because I think this is such a powerful point.
Yeah, no, we're done. No, go ahead, of course. Sorry.
Because ANTN is this open organization, Steve and I would not be able to be doing the variety of things that we do if you all or we all aren't open to following our spiritual path. Years ago, I talked to Ken Gordon, and Ken said, well, why don't you come on board? You know, come on board. I said, Ken, we couldn't do what we do if we were part of your organization. And he just looked at me and said, you're right. So ANTN is definitely a place that is needed, and we need to be in it. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you. So Lisa mentioned that I'd been a past president, and was I going to say anything too? I probably wouldn't have without that prodding. So thank you. I guess as I've thought about it, I think I've been here 27 years. So I think that's one of my claim to fame, is just being able to continue. And I see, you know, I'm deeply involved and connected with education. I'm a Woodrow Wilson Fellow and taught at Cal State University before I was ordained as a minister. So education is very important to me. And I notice, in fact, a couple people on the call, I'm really, as I look back, pleased that I've been able to, that I know of 4 different ministries, churches that are continuing, of people that have at least had some of the training with me, a couple of ANTN and a couple of CSL ministries. And that's always been important to me. We are, as everybody else, doing services on COVID and on COVID. No, we're doing services on Zoom because of, and as Frank mentioned, it's been this marvelous opportunity to have wonderful speakers. Martha Creek's been with us, and Rick Moss as well, and Mary Reed, who's written that Unwitting Mystic. It's quite beautiful. And I think that my personal feeling is that when we gather like that, we are creating this field that is love, that is a place where all these, you know, warring things, whether it's politics or wear a mask or don't wear a mask or all of the different things, that's not finished yet. Whatever evolutionary process we're in, it's like we're still in the chrysalis. We haven't yet become the butterfly. And that's not over yet. But as we gather as community, both as ANTN, even on a call like this, or on Sundays as we gather, or in our classes, that field that's created is a space where life can show up, where these warring factions can get some respite, can rest a little. And I think that it's our contribution to the collective. And so we continue that. And that's, I think, what we're doing. So there you go. I want to mention that if you have a question for all of us or any of us, you're welcome to put a question in the chat. And
Let's see chat.
Pardon?
Never mind.
And and I did want to say, just in terms of the, we are teaching a class on the book White Fragility, why it's so difficult to talk about race to white people. So that's going to be on Tuesday night starting August 11th. So you're welcome to check out our Facebook page or something and see about that. And I would very much like to ask each of our beautiful panelists where you're getting your inspiration these days. Lisa started to mention somebody that she's been reading. What are the books, or what are the practices? Where are you getting your inspiration? What is helping sustain you these days?
Carol, what are you reading now, my darling?
Okay, well, so we'll start with Carol. And I find that I'm probably doing too much. You know, there's so much that's available, so it's getting a little crazy. I'm going on a retreat this next month with the beloved Martha Creek, and I'm also going to do the retreat with Paul Zelig. I have, even prior to his being selected as our keynote speaker at the conference, and he will be this next spring as well, I was starting to read his material, which I find incredible and very pertinent, extremely pertinent to everything that's unfolding now. It's as if all of that stuff that we've been teaching, that we said we believed, we're being asked to believe at a very much deeper level. And what is it to embody the Christ, to allow life to flow through you, to be that? And so I'm doing Paul Zelig stuff. I'm also involved with Awakening Together, which is a completely online, non-dual kind of community with people that have or are in the process of awakening. A beautiful thing that I came across. Silent, brilliant stillness. A little something written by a person that's just in this expanded state. That's quite nice. I have been reading that. I do a meditation twice a week with a man named Mukesh, who's an Indian healer. I mean, just extraordinary opportunities because of the things. And, you know, then in my free time, I try and remember to sit outside in the garden and receive inspiration from the trees. That's what I'm doing. So what about, can I turn it back to Lisa and ask you, and then we'll go around?
I think I shared about Eva Bell Werber, and I find her so inspirational. And I've been reading the classics, really. I've been reading Quimby's manuscripts, which I find very useful. And I've been rereading some of the actually the mystics that I love, Hildegard and Meister Eckhart. So I've just been revisiting. I also have promised myself to keep a contemporary book on my nightstand, because one of the, for pleasure reading, one of the habits I get into is not reading novels, and then I can gauge my happiness or my, the fabric of my life based on am I reading for pleasure as well as for inspiration and deepening? So I've been
That's
reading.
great.
So 2 books I recommend. The Nightingale, which is wonderful. I just completed that. And then I think an amazing nonfiction but fabulous book is Devil in the White City. And it's a really interesting book if you haven't read it. And I was remiss, my darling Martha Creek spoke at our church with so many people loving you. Thank you for doing that, and is scheduled again for August 16th. And I agree with Frank and with Dr. Carol. We can have people from all over. In fact, we can speak at each other's churches. So how's that? So let's get around and support each other. And I look forward to having you all speak at my church. So there you go. So
Thank you.
listen. Mhm.
What about Reverend Jean? You want to talk about your sources of inspiration other than the corn? We know about.
Well, I'm sure you don't want to hear about all the organic gardening books.
No, we'll just assume that that's so.
So one of my, I've been reading this book. I really love this book. It's called Too Soon Old, Too Late Smart. 30 True Things You Need to Know Now. Too Soon Old, Too Late Smart. And I love that book. And I've also been, so my good friend, Mr. Joe Biden, president guy, he sends me these things. I have a lot of them. I get them, and I'm so grateful. So I have these around in my house. In fact, he was in this book. And so I always go, good morning, Mr. President. Or if it's, I go, good evening, Mr. President. And I think that is an excellent prayer. And he's always waving. It's like, hi. This book is not an easy book, and I recommend it. It's called The Politics of the Brokenhearted. And the subtitle is On Holding the Tensions of Democracy. So in my evolving incarnation of whatever this is right now, like I said, I'll call it retirement. That word has never worked for me. It's just a different experience and expression of ministry. I find, and Carol said, Jeannie, don't say that.
Oh.
So there are times when I get quite upset with metaphysics, because a part of me feels that we're responsible for creating all of the plastic floating in the ocean and all of the stuff that is unnecessary in our world. There is that whole long period of time when we said, you can have anything, you can create anything, you want, all of that stuff, that all of those things, the princes, the palaces, the parking places, the Cadillacs, all of it. And it is true. We know this. We know this is true. And now my call is to teach people that none of that stuff matters. There's plenty of stuff. Good God, we just need to distribute it. And that we can use our consciousness in a higher and greater way. So consciousness, as Lisa reminded us, creates reality. 3 words: consciousness creates reality. And so I just, I in this moment right now, I can't, I really, so I'm trying to think of what Carol told me not to say. Anyway.
Carol doesn't remember what you said is perfect, and it's from your heart, and it shows part of the all that is unfolding, and we need to address.
So, really seriously, do we not have enough couches? Do we not have enough whatever? We have plenty of all of those things. And so now I just feel so strongly that, yes, indeed, we can create anything. So we need to focus on things like recognizing that all beings without exception, everything that walks, crawls, creeps, swims, flies, absorbs, bubbles, and composts, has what they need. And that, you know, we, the two-leggeds, really need to knock whatever, you know, knock it off and become a blessing in our world. So that's, you know, yeah, that's what I'm up to. And then I always go, good morning, Mr. or hello, Mr. I have a lot of these. He likes to send these to me. He likes me a lot. So.
And you live in the Magic Kingdom. I remember you saying that, Jean, over the years all the time. So thank you.
Yes, indeed, I live in the Magic Kingdom. That is true.
So who haven't we talked to on this? What are your sources of inspiration? Abigail and Frank. Okay, how about Abigail first? Oh, just take a look. There's also a question for you, Abigail. Who is the contact person that you're meeting with for social justice?
Okay. Well, it's actually the class with Reverend Wendy Craig Purcell, and so
that's fine. They can look it up from that.
Yeah, she's on Unity Center in San Diego, and of course everything will be online, so anybody. Yeah.
And please look at the chat as well just before Abigail starts. There are a number of things Jerry's put up, Martha's put up websites for some of the people we've mentioned. Jerry's put up our affiliated New Thought Network Conference, which is April 12th, 16th. Take a look in the chat. And Abigail, go ahead if you would on your sources of inspiration currently.
Okay. Well, first thing, just like everybody else, I'm sure on the call, I have my morning meditation. And I love sitting in my chair. I have a beautiful window I can look out onto the hills behind my house, or I'll go out on the balcony and sit there. I have candles for special people that are in need of prayer, and I light the candles for them. But very often, I'll just go back to some of the old texts. I'll just walk in and I've got books and, okay, I need to read that today, or I need to read that, whether it's Gold,
Smith.
Yeah, or the Signs of Mind text, or the magazine, but there's always something there that I pull out, and it feeds me for the morning. And prayer and meditation. I walk, so I get out in nature. I love doing that because we have a quiet neighborhood, lots of trees, so that's wonderful. And then when I come back, I love to walk the labyrinth, which is also a walking meditation. And that feeds me. It's peaceful, and ideas come through that. I like to sit on a bench under my blue spruce and with the trees, so that's wonderful. I also like to go in, because we don't have church services, so we go to different church services and on Zoom call and get fed on Sundays that way. Two books that I'm reading having to do with the racial justice is I'm reading The White Fragility, as you are, Carol, and probably so many people that I just finished that. And just about finished with the book called How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, which is, it's not hard to read. It's so full of information. It's just like, wow. So I feel that it's my duty to really get in touch with my preconceived ideas about racism, and really dive into that and basically clean out my consciousness. And I've never thought I had a racist bone in my body, but after reading these books, realized that everybody is somewhat racist on the continuum. So we need to see where we are, acknowledge it, own up to it, and then do something about it. So that's what I do.
Thank you. Thank you, Abigail, very much. And Frank. You'll have to unmute yourself, though.
There we are. Thank you. I did mute myself. What have I been doing? Well, first of all, let me make a comment about the idea of social justice. I've been fortunate in my life to have a number of friends who happen to be African American. And I remember having a conversation with one of them several years ago, and in which we were talking about this idea of racism, and he said, "Do you think of me as your Black friend?" And I said, "Well, yeah, Stewart, you're my friend." And he said, "If you think of me as your Black friend, you're still racist. You'll continue to be racist until you think of me only as your friend." And so I've been on that path of trying to deal with my own personal racism, whatever it may look like, for the last 5 years or so. Because I grew up in an interracial community where there was a lot of racism. My parents were both what I would consider to be benign racists. They didn't mean to be racists, but they were. And I grew up with that, and I've been really working on that very hard myself for the last 5 years. So that's that piece, and I continue to work on it. I will continue to work on it. As far as my spiritual inspiration is concerned, we had the opportunity to meet and get to know some time ago a young man named, oh gosh, what's the heck is his last name? Timber. He's an Israeli kid who has written a book called Zen Boot Camp, Buddhist Boot Camp.
Timber
Huh?
Timber Hawkeye.
Timber Hawkeye, thank you. Thank you, Chad. Well, we've gotten to know Timber pretty well, and his book is really fascinating because he's someone who lives the quintessential minimal Zen life. He lives in a travel trailer, and he moves it from one place to another, borrowing people's pots on people's property. Has basically no possessions but t-shirts and jeans. And he's a writer. He's a brilliant kid, and we've learned a lot from him. That's one of my spiritual sources right now. But the other one, a couple of years ago, I was shopping at a Men's Warehouse, and this young man who was waiting on me, we started talking about what I did and about metaphysics, and he shared with me that he was a student of Neville Goddard, and that he went online every Sunday and studied with Neville on YouTube, that there were these dozens and dozens and dozens of Neville Goddard YouTubes. And then Mitch Horowitz talked about Neville Goddard. And so I started querying young people that were metaphysical about what their sources were. And Neville Goddard kept coming up over and over and over and over. And so right now I'm studying Neville Goddard again. I'm reading his books, I'm watching his videos, listening to his talks, and his core ideas of the I am, and getting out of the, even though he mentions God, he's not religious at all. And I'm looking at how I can transform my languaging, how I can transform myself, so that I become more and more and more available to young people. And so that's where I'm focusing my spiritual attention right now.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Mary Beth Spear, for catching my idea as I sit here and look at everybody. There are only a few of you that I don't know really well, but I know that each one of you has this same source of wisdom, and maybe a different book or maybe a different way you're doing life. But Mary Beth has put in some suggestions of things that she's reading, and I'm so sorry. Hang on. That's my...
Carol, you're muted.
Yes, I know. That's either somebody selling something or my father-in-law, who's 93 and has dementia, and who calls when he gets a moment. And so I just need to check it and answer. Anyway, I have no idea where I was, except that just inviting you to put in the chat anything that you have that's inspiring you as well. Cassandra, yes, who's in South Carolina, going to hear Barack Obama give the eulogy for John Lewis. Cassandra is one of our ministers that has done whatever Jean has done and not called it retired, and is still connected with our community and working in a unity community in South Carolina. All right, so all of the lights that I see in all of these pictures, anything that you want to, here's Elisa Stewart is saying our morning calls have been focused on Neville Goddard. The One Mind. We've read 3 Neville books together since March. Martha is saying infinite appreciation and blessings to and for each of you as you continue to move people to purpose as you live yours, knowing there's elements of delight in what you do, that you are intentionally growing yourself, and that you're certain in a unified heart that your life and service is beneficial for others. That is just almost word for word what I was about to say. That's a joke. It's beautifully said, Martha. Thank you. Teaching Neville classes, says Lisa. Thank you all. How past presidents relate to our new ANTN vision, uniting the New Thought movement through the conscious evolution of every member. Can we have a sentence from each? We don't have more time than that. Lisa?
A sentence about what? Can you say that again?
Yeah, well, somebody's asked a question in the chat about our vision, our new vision, new ANTN vision. And the whole of it is ANTN is a loving, expanding alliance of new thought leaders and spiritual community. And that's carries with it a lot. And we empower and serve our members in actualizing each one's unique creative potential, which I think we've seen a bit. And then providing valuable resources, serving those who serve, and uniting the New Thought movement is our purpose, joy, and honor. So we're kind of using as a tagline that uniting the New Thought movement through the conscious evolution of every member. So anybody that wants to say of our panelists.
Carol, Lisa, I'm going to step in here.
Yep.
When I heard that sentence, it went like this, right into my heart. I'm like, that is it. And I was, I was on board the second I heard it. That is it.
Thank you, Jean. Lisa?
I go back to, I think, my own responsibility, which is to heal myself, grow myself, deepen myself, and everything else is meaningless. And that's the best way to serve the world.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Frank or Abigail?
Yeah, I want to echo what Lisa just said. I think that our responsibility right now, especially in the world that we're in, what we've created for ourselves is a relative reality. I think that our only job is to work on our own consciousness, and that will unite all of New Thought and unite the whole world. It's a little bit terrifying to think of the power of our minds to create the nonsense that we have created in the world right now. And I think that our job is to really work on ourselves more than anything else. That's the most important thing that we can do. And in that I echo this sentiment of uniting all of New Thought in the personal consciousness growth.
Thank you, Frank. And Abigail, would you like to say something?
Sure. I agree with everyone that has gone before me. Being in a different position here, I do send out messages in a newsletter to people that are not New Thought faith positions. And so my message is always from inspiration that I receive, from the divine. And so as I write and I send it out, I know that this is going out into the world to people of all faiths. And so again, our tradition cannot be limited just to New Thought people. Our practice, maybe not our practices, but our philosophy and our wisdom is for everyone. And so, and when I am able to speak at a table with a group of people that are not of my faith, I'm able to share my story, my thoughts. And they look at me like, oh yeah, I get that. I understand that, you know, so we need to share it. What inspires us, we can inspire others with our own ideas and New Thought principles, because people are yearning for it, not just our New Thought people, but other people that may not have a tradition and are looking for it.
Thank you. I just want to point out one comment. Martha Creek, who's on our conference committee, said, please ensure you're registered for the ANTN conference in April and you have your own direct hotel reservation. So we're doing it differently this year, and you're registering directly with the hotel. It may be the first time space is more limited, she says. So early bird is helpful. I know it takes us off the thing, so let me see how I can get it back, but I wanted to be sure you saw it. And I think that, you know, I know what we were gonna, well, maybe we still will. I was looking at to see when in the world was I the president and when all this happened. And what I found was a couple of years of a president's messages back when the president was writing all these things and I brought this part. It was about gratitude. And I said, as I think of all the church communities and individual ministries in which we are involved all over the world, I'm grateful for the light you share. Each act of kindness, each inspired sermon, each moment of stillness, each prayer helps us all. As we wake up together and raise our individual vibrations, our families, centers, and communities are also uplifted. I'm so grateful for each of you and for the global transformation that is unfolding through us. And I don't think that we're not, absolutely not the only ones, that everybody, whatever your degree of light that's flowing through, it is part of this unfolding. But I think that while many others are doing this all over, we have added in our intention. We're doing it intentionally. And I think that that speaks to what I said earlier, which is, for me, it's the field. It's what is the field that I personally open to. All this stuff I thought for years. I worked so hard to, run and create and do a church, and it turns out God did everything that worked, and I haven't been doing, you know what? So nothing. So that awareness, I think, is something that together as ANTN we offer. And this is another, maybe you can, this is about Allie, sending her regards. Yeah, this is her move out day. She's also sold a house and is moving into a trailer, and lots of movement you'll find in all of our lives, right? Everything's different, and forward is where we're taking those steps. We're doing it together because there's only this one life, and that's the only way we can do it. But I think that at least you've seen some of the beauty and the love and the brilliance that has helped guide ANTN for a while. And I know that continues in our current president, Ali Benjamin, and then we have a meeting in September, and new board members will be joining us as well. So I think I wanted us to kind of pray out, just because I'm a prayer. Everybody has their own things. Jean's growing corn, praying, and or the corn is praying for her, however that works in the Magic Kingdom. But and Martha is saying goodbye, kissing us all. How about Lisa, Frank, and I? Is it possible we can do 3 people just quickly?
Yeah.
So,
Would you like to assign us parts, Carol?
oh yeah, and well, Jean already did her bubble and things, and including all beings. That's
Right.
that's from Jean for sure. Frank, just start us out. First couple of steps, and Lisa and I will both say something.
Okay, thank you. Let's just close our eyes for a moment if you're comfortable doing so, and relax in your seats. Take that deep inhale, that pneuma, that rauch, the presence of God, the breath of God in each of us, that living presence that we are. For there is only one source, one life, one living presence in the universe. That one, by whatever name we call it, whether it is God, whether it is Allah, whether it is, as my friend Timber says, Hashem, no matter what we call it, it is that one consciousness, that one life, that is all of life. That is my reality, and I know it's the reality of everyone on this call. And I know that all of life, as I say it, unlike Jeannie, I say winged, finned, two-legged, four-legged, no-legged, that walks, crawls, swims, and flies on the earth. All is that one. And as we look at this world and all of the things that are going on, the divisiveness, the anger, the hatred, we know that it is caused by us. For we are the creators of our reality, and we have forgotten who we are when we see it that way. We have forgotten that we are in the one, as the one. And so right now in this moment, I declare for each of us and for the world we live in, that we awaken to our oneness, and we allow the peace of that one, the love of that one, to fill us all.
Passing this consciousness to Lisa.
And I accept every word that my beloved Frank has spoken, and I speak a deep and special word of gratitude and thanks for Emerson Theological Institute, for Dr. Angelo Pizzello and Dr. Stella Pizzello, and all that they have brought to the world through Emerson, through a dream that we are living in. And I speak this word, that this new thought philosophy, this consciousness that is beautiful and powerful beyond my understanding of it, outlives me, outlives all of us. That the organizations that we created outlive us and thrive with new generations. So I speak this word of love for my colleagues that have been my colleagues for years and those whom I've yet to meet. And I say, thank you, God, for the privilege of living into this beautiful life. Thank you, God, for the privilege of connection. Thank you, God, for all that is yet to come in my understanding. And I pass this word to Carol.
And so we just rest in this open heart. This one heart that I call the heart of God, that is beyond all this. Giving thanks for life itself as it flows through us. Giving thanks for this one life and this love and this open, accepting heart as it flows through ANTN and all of our ministers and ministries and everyone connected here. Giving thanks for this time together. Giving thanks for all of those highlighted in this call as past ministers, for Frank and Lisa and Abigail and Jean and Carol, giving thanks for each one that by being on this call has opened up to the possibilities of life expressing itself in new and glorious and magnificent ways through all of us. I give thanks for this field that is created as we come together, knowing it to be that energy beyond, the peace beyond all understanding, this energy that has created worlds and beyond. The multiverse as it expresses right here and right now as each of us. So I give thanks for this call, for all that is. I'm releasing this prayer and of our hearts and minds into law where I know it is done. And may this time together be of benefit to all beings. So it is. Amen.
So it is.
Love, thank you for coming. Thank you,
Thank
thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Be safe.
Thank you.
Good to see everybody.
Love you.
I love you. I love you.